Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Why are Manchester United a club in tatters? Why is it Manchester United are sacking people, raising ticket prices, removing funding for charities and selling young players, basically selling the soul of this football club? And letters are coming out from INEOS to say this is the way to do it. Why is it clubs like Chelsea, with a smaller fan base, a smaller ground, a club that was on the verge of extinction because of financial issues, are spending billions over the last couple of years, but Man United can't do it? It doesn't make sense. Well, let's make it make sense. We're going to do that. We're going to cut through the propaganda, the lies, and find the truth. And some of you in the comments are going to find that truth and interact. We want this to be accessible. This is the first step towards unveiling what's really going on at Manchester United, because nobody else seems to want to do it. Why is it Man United aren't spending money? Why is it Man United are spending money? Why is it why Manchester United are putting this stuff out about FFP and PSR? Why are journalists, journalists for The Athletic, The Independent, the Manchester Evening News, who churn stuff out every single day, why is it since INEOS have came in, they've never looked under the bonnet and found the information? I want to shout out people like the New York Times, Kieran Maguire, Swedish Rumble, I think it is, Swiss Ramble, so many other people that I've looked and spoken to and others as well to bring you this. But look, there are grey areas, but there are very easy areas to focus in on. Get your comments in. I want to be reading the comments. I want to be seeing people interacting with each other, because I think there are so many myths and propagandas that we need to unveil the truth as close as we can. The truth is that Manchester United remain £750 million thereabouts in debt. That debt's never gone anywhere. About 2 years ago, Kieran Maguire, as a financial expert, put a quote out saying that Manchester United, in the time that the Glazers have been there, have spent £900 million on interest payments on that debt. So let me explain that. The debt stays at £750 million. But because it's a debt that you owe interest on, you pay interest on that debt. So 900 million doesn't bring that debt down. If anything, it probably goes up, but or stays the same. But 900 million is interest payments. In the last 3 years, we've spent around 200 million pounds on interest payments on the debt. That goes towards PSR. Some people have said that INEOS can't do anything about PSR. They can't put any more money into the club than what they've done already. There's nothing they can do about PSR. Their hands are tied. This is why they've got to sell people like Garnacho. We'll talk about Chelsea in a minute, but let's dispel that myth straight away. Qatar were going to clear the debt the first day they took over Manchester United. If you clear the debt at Manchester United, that will cost you £750 million, £750 million. But when that is gone, you no longer pay debt interest. So if Man United paid £63 million in the last financial year in debt interest, they wouldn't pay it this year because the debt would be gone. Funnily enough, £63 million is exactly what thereabouts is what we're looking to get for Garnacho. So the reason we're selling Garnacho, or trying to sell Garnacho, is because we're having to pay £60 million a year in debt interest. If we didn't have to pay that, we wouldn't have to sell Garnacho. So if we had owners that came in and cleared the debts, which is what people were marching for, and that's what people wanted, Glazers out, debt gone, then we wouldn't have to be selling young players with potential to clubs that want them, because we wouldn't be paying debt. Who put the debt on the club? The Glazers. Who kept the Glazers in power? INEOS. So yes, there is something they could have done. I understand that INEOS would probably say, well, look, we only own 28%. Why should we spend £750 million to clear the debt on a club we don't own? I completely understand that. But what they are doing is saying, the route we've taken the football club down, this is the only thing we can do. But we don't have to like that route. Many of us didn't like that route. Many of us said at the time it was full sail, debt gone, Glazers out, or nothing. We didn't want people to come in and save the Glazers. In fact, I remember saying the words, anybody who comes in and saves the Glazers is an enemy of the club. Now that got clipped by certain people who wanted Sir Jim, but my point still remains. It doesn't mean Sir Jim is a vile, evil person. It means they're an enemy of the football club. And am I not right, 18 months, to say that sacking people, ticket price rises and trying to sell young players is being an enemy of the football club. By getting into bed with the Glazers and helping them, this was always going to happen because the Glazers have sucked the club dry and will continue to do it. So when you've got people saying, well, PSR, there's nothing INEOS can do, they've done enough by getting into bed with the Glazers. They've retained the debt. We still have to pay it off every year. That counts towards PSR, and therefore we have to sell people to get money into the club. But if we didn't have the debt, we wouldn't have to do that because we'd have more money coming in. So don't listen to people saying PSR and FFP is crippling the club. There's nothing anybody can do. There is things people can do. You could clear the debt. But obviously, when you only own 28%, you're not going to clear the debt because you don't own the club, because you help the Glazers stay. And that's why I've always said I'll never understand how a lifelong Manchester United fan thought it was a good idea to get into bed in a business sense with people who have crippled your football club. They needed, Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have been better off using that 1.2 billion to utilise a proper scheme to remove the Glazers. Pay people not to go to games. Strangle the Glazers out of the football club. But no, he thought he could come in and do something about it. And obviously, he can't because he is absolutely held back by this relationship. But if you're getting sympathetic there, remember it was his choice to do that. And the point still remains that we don't need to sell our young players if we aren't in debt. So the debt really does saddle us, and it's still there and it's not going anywhere. And remember, when we sell Garnacho for £60 million so we can overpay on Dorgu or anybody else, we'll still be paying another £60 million this summer on debt repayments. So it's incredible to me that this doesn't get reported, and it's incredible to me that it's so simple. The debt means we have to pay £60 million a year on PSR, and if we didn't have the debt, we wouldn't. And then we wouldn't have to sell Garnacho. But we'll sell Garnacho to buy players, and then we'll pay another £60 million on debt repayments. Effectively, you could put it this way. We're not selling Garnacho to buy players. We're selling Garnacho to pay the debt interest, and then we'll use another bit of money to buy players. Madness. How have Chelsea managed to bypass PSR? Very important. You'll have seen in the news today, I think Kieran Maguire posted it as well. Leicester, 120 million. Owners have put 120 million in to convert some loan or debt into shares. Nottingham Forest owner done it as well. I'm not too, somebody in the comments, we need this has got to be accessible. This has got to be a conversation. We can go down certain things and say, well, that's true, but some people might jump in on this and go, actually, you missed this. So Leicester and Nottingham Forest, their owners have pumped money into the football club. To us as fans, this is going to be quite a foreign thing because actually most Premier League clubs have owners that put money in, whereas we are unique in the sense that ours take it out. So what they've done is, by converting debt into shares, putting their own money in, it makes them more PSR compliant and makes them able to spend more money. So that's one thing that Forest and Leicester are doing. Their owners are converting debt into shares, which helps them on PSR. That's not what Chelsea did. What Chelsea have done and how they are able to keep spending and spending is Todd Boehly wants Chelsea to be the biggest club in the world. And to do that, he needs to improve the squad when he first comes in. So he spends a shitload of money. Billions, in fact. And people look at it and go, Chelsea are going to be ruined in a couple of years. How are they going to do this? We've just had, at the end of this month, the Premier League announce what clubs are in trouble with PSR. Nobody. Not Chelsea. People predicted they would be, they wouldn't. How have Chelsea managed to do that? Well, first of all, they did a loophole that's now been closed, the 9-year contracts. You can't do that anymore for amortisation. You buy a player for 90 and you play 10 million off over the next 9 years. That's been cut down to 5 now. So Chelsea did something cleverly that can't be done anymore. But what they've also done is they've looked at opportunities like sponsorships and sales. Hotels have been sold that the club own to companies that Todd Boehly owns. I think they've sold part of their women's youth team. So there are ways, again, that loopholes haven't been shut on yet, where you have money and can get it in by legitimately selling assets or sponsoring assets. And that is something that Manchester United could do as well, but they don't. And I think it's very, very simple to say, well, Man United could sell a car park to, INEOS for 200 million. It's got to be fair value. But there are ways to get money into the football club. As we've said before, Old Trafford could be Old Trafford supported by INEOS, and that could bring you in 15. I think Man City's stadium sponsor is 15 million a year. It's still money into the club, and I think we'd all rather that than selling young players. The bottom line is, you can get very intricate with this, but Todd Boehly and Chelsea have shown how you can get money into a club that's smaller than Man United, with a smaller fan base than Man United, with a smaller stadium than Manchester United, and you can get billions in. You've just got to get the appetite to do it. So when people say, Sir Jim Radcliffe and INEOS, we can't do anything. And when they're putting letters out to fan groups going, we can't do anything because it's a really difficult situation. What they're doing really is saying, we believe cutting costs over the next few years will make us a more sustainable football club. Cutting costs never made a club successful. This has never been done before. And the potential for it to go wrong is absolutely massive, especially when you've got people in charge who don't appear to know what they're on about. The bottom line is, if we had a Todd Boehly in charge, or dare I say it, a Qatar in charge, you would be clearing that debt in day one, because it's killing you on PSR to have to pay interest on a debt that never comes down each year. I mean, the ridiculousness of having 60 million going out of the club every year for nothing, and it cripples your ability to spend, is just not viable. That debt never comes down, so you're going to pay it every single year, but it does go on your PSR, so it stops you spending on transfers. United's biggest problem in relation to transfers is this. FFP is dealt with revenue against spend. Our revenue's quite good. Our spend on transfers is reasonable, but we can't spend more because we don't sell well. And also, we have these debt repayments that other clubs don't have. So, although our revenue might be better than Arsenal, it might be better than Liverpool, it might be better than Chelsea, all of those clubs can spend more than us because they aren't crippled by massive debt interest payments each year. And also, they sell better than us. We're crap at selling. So, these are two major issues that Manchester United need to solve. But looking at this ownership, who've bought badly for years and overpaid on wages and contracts and therefore can't sell those bad mistakes and have put us in debt over years, the two biggest factors that kill this football club are the inability to sell because we're crap at buying and the debt. Well, both of those things are Glazer legacy points. And INEOS have got into a relationship with the Glazers. The only way to deal with the Glazers is the way that many of you said when the Glazers put the club up for sale. It is the Glazers out, it is debt gone, and it is a reset button. And what we ended up with, the debt still here, the Glazers still here, and INEOS in this weird situation of trying to solve a problem that can only be solved by removing the debt, buying better, and not having the Glazers here. And they're trying to do it with the Glazers in control of them. And that is why we are failing. It is simple as that. And INEOS can put as many letters out as they like, but the bottom line is, for some reason, the mainstream don't want to look at something that's actually very simple. You mention PSR and FFP, and it's like you need a degree in finance. You don't. You don't. It's actually all out there. It just doesn't hit the mainstream as much as Man United are interested in a swap deal with Nkunku. And I don't know why. Because what's more important, a speculative story about a swap deal that doesn't make any sense, or why Man United as a football club is declining year after year into a cesspit where it may never climb out? And that is what the conversation needs to be. And if this is the first step to educating and opening up a conversation that actually isn't that difficult, and there is still a lot more to learn, then this is far more important. So I urge you to get involved, share it, start conversations in the comments and debate it out, because what cannot be disputed is that the Glazers have destroyed this football club. What cannot be disputed is that we are $750 million in debt and will remain in that for years to come. We need $2 billion to build a stadium. Where's that going to come from? That's more debt. So what we could be looking at over the next 10 years is more debt interest, restricting us even more to sell. And also, no one wants to buy our players. So we have to sell players that people want. And what do people want? They want good things. So it's Garnacho this time, it's Mainu next time. We are Everton. We are heading down the road, but unfortunately some of our fans hide behind the fact we're Man United. Look at our history. Your history means nothing, mate. Businesses go out of business all the time. You know, reputational companies that have been running for hundreds of years go out of business. Manchester United are not going to go out of business, but we're certainly not going to be successful under this regime. And if you can't figure it out, let me explain. Our revenue's good, and it probably always will be. But we can't sell players unless it's good players. And that shouldn't be happening. And also, as part of PSR, the big thing is the debt kills us because we have to pay interest on that, and that goes against PSR. And that can be £60 million a year. So when people say INEOS can't do anything, yes, they can. They could clear the debt. They could get creative in getting their money into the club, but they don't want to because they only own 28%. So we've got people running the football club who don't own the football club, who don't want to put their money into the football club because they don't own the football club. And the people who own the football club put us into debt and they don't want to put money in. So neither party wants to put money in. So the only way to get money in is to sell things, our things. So people that Man United again suffers because we are paying for their mistakes. INEOS did this deal with the Glazers. The Glazers did this deal with the INEOS, and it's not a good deal. It really isn't. I look forward and I go, how are we going to get money into this football club to get it out of this mess? And the only way we're going to bring money in is by selling more Garnachos. And we don't have loads of those. Where is this money coming from if it's not going to come in? And there are people out there that defend INEOS and they defend the Glazers, but where's the future? Where is the money coming in? The only way to get money in this football club is to sell players. We're not qualifying for tournaments. We're not winning tournaments. We're not generating loads of new revenue. Where is this money coming from? We had one chance. Glazers out, debt gone. And it's still the chance, but it's not going to happen. Get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully that breaks it down in a very, very simple way. I'm going to pin something at the top to do it as well as a chat. Share it. Get your comments in. Hopefully you understand it. Get the conversation going. It's really important. Thanks for watching.